Thanks Strong for sponsoring this video. On today's video, I am being judged on my pasta skill with the most respected pasta authorities of YouTube. Oh yes, these guys are about to destroy me or love me. And if there's one thing they know is their Italian food. I just hope they play nice. And the first two, you know who they are. These brothers are about to bust my balls.
Guga, you are a stick guy, but can you make some pasta?
We wanna see cacio e pepe.
I can do cacio e pepe. I love cacio e pepe. As a matter of fact, that is one of my favorite pastas to eat. But they're not the only one because we also have another pasta critic.
Cacio e pepe pasta. Let's see if Guga can make it.
Well, Vincento, I hope I do it right. Because if I don't, this next person has the most viewed pastas on YouTube. And everyone knows he knows his stuff.
Now, Guga, I know that your domain is steaks, but you keep dipping your toes into pasta, which is my domain. But if you're going to make pasta as your friend, I'm going to make sure that you do it properly.
Oh boy, here goes nothing.
This pasta is the symbol of Rome, and like the Colosseum is truly iconic, the simplicity of this pasta is like no other. But to get it right, it is not as easy as you might think.
This pasta has 3 ingredients. Sounds easy, but it could be the most difficult pasta you can make.
This is true, and it showcases the ingenuity of old Italian cooks.
A crucial ingredient will be the pecorino cheese. The first thing you want to do is to grate this as fine as possible.
Pecorino Romano, the cheese, okay? You can mix the pecorino and parmigiano, but it's pecorino Romano. See, that's beautiful, grating the pecorino. I see people using, the shredded cheese from the supermarket. They don't work.
Using a micro grater makes things easy. However, you can also throw it in the blender, getting this as fine as possible.
You know what? I think the NutriBullet does even a better job. I know, it sounds crazy, but I think it's best.
I'm more privy to that kind of snow textured, melts nice into sauces. It adds nice texture when it's sprinkled on top, whereas grated kind of just melts away. There is no texture.
Once that's done, you want to go ahead and cook the pasta. You want to use a good pasta for this one that has texture. You see this one? It is a sign of high quality pasta, as it will release a good amount of starch, and this rough texture will also grab the sauce. When cooking the pasta, you don't want to use too much water. That's because the starchy water is extremely important.
This is a sauce that's probably more important to have a nice starchy concentrated water. So if I'm making this for 1 or 2 people, I might use less water when I cook the pasta than I would normally, so that the starch to water ratio is a lot higher, because that starch is going to be essential in allowing the pecorino cheese, the pasta, and the water to all become this insanely creamy, delicious sauce we all want when we eat cacio e pepe.
And as the pasta is cooking, you want to go ahead and reserve a little bit of this pasta water.
Bravo, Guga. My God, you're incredible. Bravo.
Let it cool off a little, because we want to mix this with the pecorino cheese. And if you put it too hot, it can actually melt the cheese and make it stringy.
Overheating of the cheese above 180 will break the cheese, just like you're seeing here. It'll come clumpy and lumpy and just not good eats.
That's not what you want. To be specifically, you want it under 180 degrees Fahrenheit.
Guga knows his temps.
Just add little by little and keep mixing it until you make a cream. A nice thick cream just like this. As the next step is to get a pan and toast up some black pepper. You want it to be freshly cracked black pepper, because if it's too fine, it will burn. As soon as you can smell that black pepper aroma, it's time to grab some pasta water and immediately put it in the pan. Shake the pan and prevent the pepper from burning.
Can you imagine the smell in your kitchen right now? You got this pepper going into your nostril.
As once that's done, you want to go ahead and grab the pasta and immediately throw it in there. Mix everything together. Make sure you coat that pasta with that black pepper.
Yeah, the importance of making love, the importance of getting the ingredients to make love. Pepper, the water, the pasta, the make love, the jump. He's tossing it like, oh, this is so romantic, so beautiful.
The more you mix, the better. And at the same time, add pasta water as needed.
Yes. You don't want that to dry up.
He made that cream, he's gonna add that cream to the pasta. I might just make the whole cream and sauce in the pan with the pasta. And the one thing to keep in mind when you do that is that if you don't have enough pasta water and you add too much cheese, she's gonna hit that pan, probably break, not get creamy sauce. If you add too much water, not enough cheese, the sauce is going to be watery. So at the end of the day, this whole game is a balance of the amount of pasta water that is needed to allow cheese to melt into it. And if you can strike that balance properly and you have the right temperature, you will always be able to nail cacio e pepe.
Want this thing to dry, it should be slightly wet. As to finish this one up, add the pecorino cream we made previously and vigorously start tossing and shaking the pasta.
He's done a great job with that pecorino cream. It's really beautiful. It really is. Guga, let's make this clear, okay? You are the meat guy. You do steaks. Doing Italian food is my job. Do you want to take my job?
Because the idea is this: as everything is mixing together, you will slowly melt the cheese, emulsifying everything together, making a nice, delicious, creamy sauce. Now this is cacio e pepe. So you want to go ahead and plate it up, add more pecorino cheese on top if you like.
Look how creamy it is. Look at that.
You see how like the strands of pasta have these beautiful streams of the cacio e pepe sauce running through them? That means that there was both enough sauce, it is nicely creamed, it's pretty impressively executed for a big Cuban man who makes steak all day.
Followed by some freshly ground black pepper. The most important part about this pasta is that you must eat it immediately. It cannot sit.
It's so true. See that cream? Like a carbonara? You have to eat it immediately or it will get stuck. And you don't want that.
And most importantly, to prevent that, make sure you warm up the plate you're serving in before you plate it.
Now the technique you use for the cacio e pepe doesn't seem so easy, okay? Even the technique I use is not that easy. You guys try and recreate it. It could be difficult, okay? So you need to keep practicing, practice and practice. This cacio e pepe deserves a good 10 out of 10. Look at that creamy. It's so creamy.
That cacio e pepe, it's a 9 out of 10. I want to hate on it, there's nothing to hate.
9 out of 10? Well, there's nothing for you to hate. Why did I get a 9 out of 10? Seriously? That was a beautiful cacio e pepe. If there's one pasta that I am proud of, everybody, is cacio e pepe. And my next pasta might be one of the most beloved one. Gentlemen, be nice.
This is our next pasta. Now first, the meat. You really want to find this, guanciale. It is cured pork and most people think it's similar to bacon or pancetta, but in all honesty, it's really not.
Yeah, bravo Guga. Tell everyone, come on, you're the meat guy.
It truly is a flavor of its own. It cannot be compared to pancetta, to bacon, to prosciutto, to anything. When you're making the 4 Roman pastas, it's annoying to hear people say you must use guanciale, but I didn't used to use it until it became available in America. And once I started using it here, once I ate it enough in Rome, there's no going back.
Usually you will find this in any Italian supermarket, and you can always get it online. After cutting it up, you should be left with something like this.
I love it. That's how I love it. You got fat, meat, fat. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Bravo.
I really advise on cutting that herb crust off there. Not a big deal if you don't, but it's just better practice to do it. And if you don't, if it's covered in black pepper or herbs, you just run the risk of them getting burnt and getting a little bitter flavor.
A nice little strip with ratio of mostly fat and a tiny bit of meat.
Yes. So you get crunchy, tender, crunchy.
And that is what you want because we're going to be mainly using the fat. So under low heat, you want to start cooking the guanciale. Keep the heat low. We want everything to melt nice and slow.
You are good, Guga. I like it. You put lots of passion here. Bravo.
If you rush the process, it will burn and you will ruin everything.
That's right. Do not rush it. Bravo.
Next up, the pasta. I'm using this high quality spaghetti. Notice the rough texture. You want to cook it following the instructions in the packaging. And as that was going, into a bowl you want to add some egg yolks, followed by grated pecorino romano.
You use a whole egg, which is nice, and the egg yolk. Maybe put more pecorino, but let's see what you're going to do. I don't think it's enough pecorino, in my opinion. I put a lot of pecorino in carbonara, but let's see.
Generous amount of freshly ground black pepper and whisk vigorously everything together. This is our carbonara cream.
Wow, that's a beautiful carbonara cream. Bellissimo.
Notice that I still have a good amount of fat in there, so go ahead and throw the pasta right on top. Mix everything together so you can coat the pasta with the guanciale oil.
And the pasta make love with the guanciale oil, and it basically gets flavors. The pasta gets beautiful flavors from the guanciale.
You notice all the herbs and stuff in that oil? That's kind of what I don't want to happen, but it's not a big deal.
Go ahead and add some pasta water in the process also, because next up, you want to add the cream we just made. All of it. Now toss and mix everything together, and as you're doing that, the sauce will start becoming extremely creamy.
For the amount of pasta you use, which is not a lot, I think the amount of pecorino was great. It was actually good. So look at the color of the pasta. Look how beautiful it is. Beautiful, creamy.
Again, now the heat is equally as important in this recipe because not only are you trying to melt cheese, you're also adding egg, which can scramble or curdle.
The more you toss, the creamier it gets. Make sure to keep everything under low heat or turn the heat completely off.
Yeah, very good tip.
Another important thing is usually when you cook pastas, you're instructed to pull them out a little before al dente and finish cooking in the sauce. And while we do finish cooking a pasta or all these pastas in the sauce, we can't heat these sauces up too much. So the importance of pulling them out of the water when they are perfectly cooked and then adding them to the sauce, finishing them quickly, and then getting them onto a plate and getting them eaten is the way that you want to handle this.
The last thing we want is to cook the eggs. We want a nice creamy pasta just like this. Because once this is done, you want to go ahead and plate it up, add a generous amount of pecorino romano on top, followed by that beautiful guanciale we cooked previously, and you can always add more black pepper to your liking. Because in the end, you are left with this incredible dish, carbonara. Maybe one of the most famous Roman pastas. And I'll tell you one thing, it is famous for a reason.
Guys, I will give this a 10 out of 10. It was executed beautifully. Fantastico. Yes, you can put more pecorino, that's up to you. But honestly, it's done the right way. You use the perfect spaghetti with a rough texture, so absorb the sauce. You cook the guanciale so well. I like the amount of eggs you use. The carbonara, you can see, look at the image. There is no comments to be made. It's just perfect. If you do it the right way, it's beautiful. If you start adding cream, mushrooms, and whatever you use, then it's not a good plate. This is how you make a fantastic carbonara. Bravo.
It looks amazing, creamy. It's got a nice visual color to it. The guanciale is crisp. It's a good looking carbonara. I'm gonna give it an 8.8. I'd eat the shit out of that.
What? 8.8? Yo, Steve, you are ruthless, man. Why? I think my carbonara is delicious. It's perfect. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I went to Italy, and there I had Luciano's carbonara. I must say, everybody, mine is pretty good. Just like the next one, they decided to combine two amazing pastas together. Steve, be nice. So far, the roast is not that bad, but before moving to the next one, I want to thank today's sponsor, Strong. The holidays are almost here. Time to find the perfect gift for the chef in your life. And when it comes to getting the best chef tools and gear, I always turn to Strong. From chef knives to barbecue slices to cleaver, they got it all. Beautifully crafted, razor sharp, engineered to perform better and built to last. And just in time for gifting season, Strong has released one of its coolest products yet, the officially licensed Superman collection. This two-piece set is so awesome. 8-inch chef knife and 4-inch paring knife. The two essential knives for any chef. Check out the incredible detail in the blade and handle. This set's got collector's item written all over it, but it is more than a showpiece. With premium German steel and Strong's world-class quality. It is razor sharp, feels great in the hand, and handles anything in the kitchen. For the hero chef in your life, the Superman superfan, or the collector, this is a must-have gift. So this holiday season, don't just give any gift. Give something unforgettable. Head over to dowstrong.com and get yours before they sell out. Thanks Strong for sponsoring this video. Happy holidays. Now, let's get right back to it.
Next one is when Romans started getting really creative. This is a combination of two pastas you've seen before. Think cacio e pepe and carbonara without eggs.
The reason why Guga is cooking so well is because I've seen Gustavo has been to Italy a few times in the last few years, but because he's been to Italy, I believe he's have a better understanding of Italian culture and food and passion and love that you need to dedicate to the food in Italy. So bravo, Guga.
First up, we start with the king, guanciale. You want to go ahead and cut it in small strips as we did previously.
Okay, so right off the bat with the guanciale, I noticed that he's cutting it with that cured skin on it, which has either black pepper or, in this case, herbs. And you basically almost always want to cut that off because what might happen whether you're using black pepper or herbs is as that fat renders, it kind of slips off the meat, gets into the oil, and then you have flecks of like burnt black pepper or burnt herbs remaining in the oil, which you really don't want.
And throw it in the pan and cook it under low heat. Make sure to render that fat nice and slow. We're gonna need it. Once the guanciale has a nice beautiful color,
you see right there, all of the herbs in the oil, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was worried was gonna happen.
you wanna go ahead and remove it and reserve, as we'll be using this fat left behind in the pan. Next up, to cook the pasta. I'll be using a high quality spaghetti for this.
You can use spaghetti, or you can use rigatoni. Penne maybe not great, but it will work. But yes, spaghetti or rigatoni, I think, or even paccheri, the small paccheri will do very well.
Very important. You can see the texture in that pasta, which says to me that that is a slow-dried, bronze extruded pasta. The difference between that and like a commercial product you see at any supermarket, where it's kind of like a different, paler color and it has a smooth finish, that's shot out of a silicone die. Obviously faster for more efficient production, but it doesn't produce great pasta.
I cooked it following the instructions in the packaging. Once that's done, into a bowl I added a generous amount of pasta water, followed by pecorino romano. Then you want to grab a whisk and whisk this all together, because you want to add that pasta water little by little.
That's a good technique. Again, a very good technique to make the cacio e pepe cream. Beautiful.
You could add the cheese straight to the pasta to form the cream, or you could add it to a bowl before you make it. Either way works. Some people find this is easier and more foolproof, and usually people are worried about the cheese breaking, right? So at the end of the day, that's more or less a problem of the ratio of water to everything else. That's usually either a problem with the heat or the ratio of cheese and pasta water.
Just like cacio e pepe, we want to make a nice smooth cream, because in the end, you should be left with a creamy texture just like this. As now, into that guanciale fat, I added my pasta. Toss it really good to combine all of these things together, because next comes a generous amount of the cream we just made.
So you could have done this in the bowl to make it easier, just because that cream is perfect as it is. To me, so far, it's like, wow, you really want to take the job away from me of being an Italian food ambassador. You clearly want to be one now.
That's important. Whenever you add cheese to a pasta, finishing a pasta, if the pasta's too hot, if the pan's too hot, the cheese is going to break. The melting point of Parmesan is like 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you keep it there or below and you add cheese, you're gonna get almost always a perfectly creamed pasta.
Shake it well and toss the pasta, and once everything is combined, add a tiny little bit of black pepper. Shake it and toss it a little bit more. The only thing left to do now is to plate it up.
Bravo. At that moment, when you toss, you add a little bit of pasta water to make sure you get it extra creamy.
To finish it, add some freshly ground black pepper, a good amount of pecorino romano, and of course the guanciale goes right on top. Now this is what happens when cacio e pepe and carbonara have a baby.
It's true, they make love. Some people say this is even better than carbonara. It's like a carbonara without eggs.
A pasta that deserves more credit because it is absolutely delicious. Oh, yes it is.
Looks amazing. It's creamy. The guanciale is crisp. I'd love to eat it. I give this 8.2 out of 10. Negative points for the herbs on the guanciale.
Steve, I understand where you're coming from, but my guanciale did not have a hard crust. That's why I was able to use that guanciale and let it rendered. However, I agree with you. If you have a hard crust guanciale, which is more popular than the one I had available, you should definitely cut it out because that does not give you a nice bite. But if you have nice and soft like mine, cook it and leave the herbs.
I like the technique that you use to make the cacio e pepe cream. I like how you combine the ingredients, the words that you use to describe the dish. This deserves, again, a 10 out of 10. I don't know what else to say. Beautiful, beautiful execution.
Thank you, Vincenzo. I appreciate that. But our very next one, if you love tomato sauce and meat, you're gonna enjoy this one. This one is just chef's kiss.
I've said it many times and I'll say it again. This is the key of many Italian dishes. It can't be replaced with bacon, pancetta, or anything else. You really want to try to get your hands on this, especially if you never had it before. Because for the next Roman pasta, it is a crucial ingredient, as we're going to be making pasta alla matriciana.
Oh, beautiful. Usually, bucatini is the pasta used for amatriciana, okay? Now, yes, you can use rigatoni, mezze maniche, tortiglioni, like you use in this recipe. Nothing wrong with that. But please, amatriciana needs bucatini. To give you a 10 out of 10, I already know you need to have a bucatini. So let's see if you can get out of 10 Let's see how you execute this recipe.
Think of it as the most delicious tomato sauce pasta you've ever had in your life. And to make it, it's quite simple. After cutting up the guanciale in small strips just like this, you want to go ahead and throw it in the pan. Notice that I didn't put any olive oil or anything else. And that's because we want to use the rendered fat of the guanciale.
Usually there's no olive oil in any of these pastas because they didn't have olive oil. Shepherds didn't want the weight of large jugs of oil as, they're going about their business. Some cheese, some cured meats, that's all they needed. So the oil you're using for all of these that have the guanciale is the actual fat that's rendered out of the guanciale. That's the thing that's going to flavor everything.
This is a lot more flavorful than any other oil you can put in there. You want to go ahead and get a nice golden brown color on your guanciale. Make sure to keep it under low heat because we need this fat. Next up, I went ahead and remove all of the guanciale and set it aside. Then you want to grab a can of whole tomato and crush it up.
Yeah, crushing it by hand. You get the beautiful juice out, you make it more rustic, but make sure you don't get the juice out of the bowl like you did now. Don't do that. Don't waste the San Marzano.
You can definitely do it by hand, but if you have a food mill, it's going to be a lot easier.
That's easier. Do it by hand, or you can actually press, with the mashed potato or the masher, or just do it rustic with your hands.
I would suggest the food mill. The food mill turns whole peeled canned tomatoes into what is called tomato passata, the smooth version of tomatoes. As a kid, I hated chunky tomato sauce. Couldn't emulsify and coat the rigatoni or whatever pasta I would have as well. And I just wasn't a fan of biting into those chunks. I wanted smooth, creamy tomato sauce. So that's what you get out of using a food mill.
As once you're done, you should be left with something like this. Now throw that right into the pan with the guanciale fat. Bring it to medium heat and let it cook. Season it with salt and black pepper now. Mix it well and taste it for seasoning. As next, you want to go ahead and cook your pasta.
The amount of flavors that you get when you mix the beautiful and crushed tomatoes with the guanciale fat. It's just perfect, just as it is.
A lot of people love to use bucatini for amatriciana, but for this version today, I'll be using rigatoni.
Bravo, you explained. Bucatini is the must. But you told everyone. Bravo, Guga.
I'm a rigatoni guy. And if you can get some fresh rigatoni, that works best in my opinion.
After cooking it up to the instructions in the packaging, I went ahead and threw it in the pan. Then I added some pasta water. Now a generous amount of pecorino romano.
Just remember, it's good to put pecorino, but the sauce is still cooking. Never put the cheese when the sauce spin is still cooking. Okay? So if you still have it on the fire, the cheese doesn't go in. Otherwise, it becomes stringy and not good. So sorry, Guga, but that's a mistake you should not make.
Then you want to toss the whole thing until it becomes extremely creamy. Get ready to get a little messy. That's totally fine. Because once you're almost done, you want to go ahead and add the guanciale right on top, toss it a little bit more, and in the end, you want to go ahead and plate it up for serving. And of course, you can always add more cheese if you like. Because this is pasta alla matriciana. If you love a red pasta, you're definitely gonna like this one.
I love this one, I really like it. Like I said, you must use bucatini. I'm so sorry. You can use any pasta, but you need to use bucatini. I cannot give you a 10 out of 10. Sorry. You deserve a 10 out of 10, but you need bucatini pasta for this. So this deserves a 9 out of 10. It executes perfectly. Again, it's showing everyone how simple it is to cook Italian food. This is beautiful. Guys, Guga did a fantastic job. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Now I'm hungry for pasta. So let's go and cook some pasta.
Okay, I've had amatriciana all over Rome. It's my favorite pasta, so I'll be a little bit more critical. Pasta looked a little bit dry. I'd love to see that sauce sort of cling to the pasta a little bit more. The guanciale looked good. I'm gonna give it an 8.4, and I'm gonna give it I'll eat the shit out of that 2 rating. Guga, you did a fantastic job. I'm thoroughly impressed. And I'll make my way down south so we can make some pasta together.
I cannot catch a break with Steve, man. I understand you're trying to be as critical as possible, and that's why I wanted you to be in this video, because I knew you were going to put me in check, and I'm always willing to learn. So, okay. Please go check out these guys on the link in the description down below. Give them some love. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one, because now I'm going to go practice that amatriciana.